So today I'm joined by a distinguished, I should say, panel. So today I'm joined by Dr. Ashok Sapaya, co-founder and CEO of Mitra Innovations. Ashok, how are you? Long
Good,
time
thank
no see,
you.
my friend.
Yeah, nice to be back, Eric. Thank you.
All right, excellent. And Dr. Kalal Basu, head of global strategy and branding, enterprise application services at TCS. Kalal, how are you? Oh, we got you on mute, Kalal.
Hi, how are you?
There we go. All right, there we go. Digital information sharing here. We just got to figure out the communication platforms. Excellent. So today, guys, we'll be talking about 6 forces that might have the greatest impact on telecom. I'm not going to let them limit us, though, to 6. So if we want to go beyond 6, they can't place limits on us like that. We can talk about as many as you want. So let me just stop my screen share so I can see you better. How is everybody today? Gentlemen, you doing well?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. All right. So to get the discussion started, we have to look at, we talked a little earlier in our session about, the impact, whether those are political or, world events that have impacted the telecom industry. And, Ashok, maybe I'll pose this first question to you, and then, we can chime in as we move through the discussion. But we all know that, in 2020, we were hit with a global pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. How do you think that has, changed the telecom industry, for the foreseeable future?
Well, it's a fantastic way to open the discussion, Eric. I mean, what we saw is when people moved for remote working, the demand for telco shifted from a corporate network to a highly distributed network. So broadband demand went through the roof. The good news is all over the world, the telco was able to handle that. They were able to smoothly transition. Some corporates, I know some of the banks in Central Europe struggled because they didn't have the network or Cisco couldn't scale up, etc. But I think now we passed that. I think the challenge for telco is if this becomes the new norm, in other words, hybrid working, how do you switch collaboration between a corporate-based environment versus a remote-based environment? There's a lot of challenges around. That's one thing we are seeing it. The second is we are getting more and more comfortable with mobile-based telecom usage, mostly data. I think Bill Gates said almost 5 years of technology acceleration happened virtually in 1 year. So that means if more people are comfortable with mobile devices, how do telco handle that streaming? I can't remember calling people on the normal phone. It's WhatsApp. WhatsApp video calls or FaceTime. So the telco has a big challenge in terms of handling that level of capabilities through a variety of apps using the 5G capability. And I think beyond that, the telco itself is getting highly commoditized, isn't it? It's a broadband is given, mobile capabilities given. It's all about apps driving high value data. So there are a lot of challenges that I'm seeing for telcos, and the competition is coming with more hybrid way. Just like the challenger banks, there are a lot of challenger telcos coming with new ways of communicating and collaborating. So how do they coexist is it's a big challenge. And the last point I would say is media is merging a lot faster than it was. I mean, it was happening like BT went with BT Vision and so on, but now it's so interconnected. I know, for example, my daughter, I think, spends more hours streaming content on a phone than attending classes. So the world is changing quite a lot. So it's a big challenge for the telcos.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think that that demand is going to continue into the future, right? It's been how we got our entertainment. It's how we shop now. We're doing everything digitally. I look at what was it over the weekend? I streamed the new James Bond movie, right into my right into my house. I didn't need to go to the movie theater or anything, which is an experience I always enjoyed. But now we we want to consume that internally. So I think that you'll see that trend continue into the future. And the telecoms, as you said, Ashok, have really stepped up. They've been able to keep up with that demand. So it's been quite impressive. Kalal, I guess the next question I'll pose to you. So when we think about the future, let's look at the near term. So we've got we're wrapping up 2021. What do you think that telecom leaders must focus on and take into consideration in 2022?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and Ashok, I think, answered pretty much the key pivots, or rather the main considerations that based on which we should define 2022. So, if I look from a point of view of the CSPs, they're investing to accelerate their transformation by focusing on, I would say, number one will be unlocking the new business model opportunities around 5G, IoT, B2B2X, vertical services and ecosystems. And what has emerged as a very, very important key lever, which wasn't there pre-pandemic, is the transformation to the experience economy and the customer delight by rapidly creating more and more digital experiences across the assisted and omni-channel channels. So customers would like to be associated with a telco, whether it's B2B or B2C customer, as being easy to do business with. And that means customer experience has taken huge importance over the last 1 year or so. And this also implies that you need to adapt your operational processes to support the new business models, new partnerships, which needs a very robust back office. So telcos would need a flexible, modern, integrated system that wouldn't really compromise on security and stability. And from an IT standpoint, also another thing that I'd like to mention is the boundaries are blurring. So telcos are eating up into retailers. Retailers are getting into. So the borders are very, very thin now. I mean, it's pretty much blurring. Telcos, media is almost like interchangeable. So also, IT plays a very important role to modernize and innovate the operating platforms. And we did a recent survey, and we found that more than 40% of the CSPs are moving to public cloud, are considering movement to public cloud in the foreseeable 1 or 2 years. That's a major trend, which telcos were perceived to be very conservative in this manner. So this pandemic has really accelerated the digital transformation that the telcos needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. When we have such, consolidated mergers and acquisitions within the industry, there's a lot of legacy technology that's been being brought together, right? Like, telecom organizations have had decades worth of customer interactions stored in many different systems, and then you acquire or you merge with another provider, and all of that information needs to be combined. How do you leverage all of that and bring it together? So it's a big challenge, and I'm seeing it with the customers that we're talking to. And Kalal, couldn't also agree more with that customer delight in the customer experience, and being able to offer additional services. I look at, I've got my new iPhone. It's an iPhone for life program that I've got a year's worth of Netflix included within my plan, right? So they're delighting me with all of these different offers and attracting me to remain a customer, right? And we have a choice now. So it's going to be those providers that really are able to capture that and stay ahead of their competitors. So great insight there. let's move on to another question. So as we're looking at how telecoms are having to reinvent themselves within the industry, Ashok, I'll point this one to you. How do telecom service providers create an effective blueprint into their reinvention strategy? How are they reinventing themselves, and how are they mapping that out, for the future? What is the best approach?
I think we are seeing that already happening, Eric. The telecom's been faced with a lot of challenges for the last 5 to 8 years. Of course, COVID made it even more challenging, but I think I personally think telco did really well during in the last 2 years. But as Kalol mentioned, the business model is the biggest challenge for them. They are traditionally used to charging by usage, whether it's a B2B or B2C. Now it's the bundling concept coming in together, like you're saying, Netflix, various data scheme. If you're a frequent traveler, corporate frequent traveler, there are a lot of bundling. And I think I saw somewhere in Asia, Thailand or somewhere, one of the telcos, even bundling in pharmacy and some of the other services into the, like a life science capability into the packaging. So when you bring in these bundles, the telcos have to collaborate a lot. Now they're used to collaborating with B2B players, all from a telco infrastructure perspective, but how do you collaborate more on the services side? That's a complex problem to deal with. So it's a business model. They're forced to collaborate with partners that are traditionally not familiar with doing that. The charge model needs to be rethought. People, rather than, a lot of people are, whether it's a corporate or consumer, they're happy to buy a fixed price charge model, but then they're expecting a lot more to be included. If they don't include it, they'll bypass and buy it from another third-party provider streaming onto the same mobile platform, right? So the charge model is a third one they need to reinvent completely. And the fourth one is telcos have to become media players. There's no other choice. If you're not a telco, if you're not a media player, I don't think you're going to survive in the next 5 years, or you'll get acquired by the giants like Verizon's of the world, right? So when you say media, I'm not talking about Sky and Virgin and that kind of media. It's the content creation. So like you mentioned, James Bond, Disney launched their movie recently in the theater, but they also made it available on the platform, but at a higher price, right? So the consumer has a choice to go to a cinema or to watch it at home on the day one at a higher price, or wait for 6 months and pay your subscription model. And that's on the B2C side. I can see B2B also offering similar programs. So let's take a corporate training program. The telcos could bundle that as part of their program to large corporates and offer it in a large scale, where the corporate training media is available to all their corporate customers for a price more convenient for the customer, more attractive, and for the content creators, the training organization, it's channel partnering. So telco takes them to all the corporates. So I think they just need to reimagine their business model. That fundamentally is the business model where they want to be 10 years from now. That's more on the operation side. I think the other one is more on the financial modeling, which is the environmental, social, and governance perspective, ESG, from COP26 to various other programs. There's a lot of scrutiny going into manufacturing and financial services sector. Telco less so, but I think a lot of pressure will come into telcos for their data center, energy consumption, what kind of energy they consume to distribute the 5G network, etc. And what we are seeing is in the other industries, almost every $4 out of $10 that are invested in the corporates are ESG sustainability impact based. So, and I don't see a lot of telcos doing that in a big, I mean, they are doing it from a PR perspective, but they're not adopting United Nations sustainability goals. So I think they need to rethink. They really need to rethink from that perspective.
Got it. What tremendous insight. And I'm getting the wrap up signal here, guys. So I want to pose one last question, Kalal. I'll point this one to you. We look at emerging technologies within the industry. So if we're looking at the investments that telecom service providers are going to have to make in order to take advantage of these emerging technologies, what do you think are the top technologies or emerging technologies that CIOs and digital leaders should be investing in and preparing for 2022 and beyond? Oh, we might have lost Kalal. Are you there?
We may have lost him.
We may have lost them. So I guess I'll shift gears and I'll send that one to you, Ashok.
And I'll keep it to 2 minutes.
There we go. All right.
So if the question is around trends, I think it's about. I think Kalal is back. Is Kalal back?
Might be having some bandwidth issues.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Talking about
telecom, right?
Telecom, exactly. No, I think we already covered that in terms of trend. How do you bring in media into the program? How do you support multi-geography, multi-work environment type of corporate environment for facilitating that capability, internal processes? Especially one thing we didn't talk about is dynamic agility. So if business wants to launch a new program, a new service offering to the customers because they see the demand, in the past, it takes about 12 to 18 months to roll out the new program. Can I do this in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, right? Which we see it in the other industries. So telco also need to be able to adopt it. I mean, we are working with BT, for example, OpenReach in the UK. It takes a long time to get approval and launch anything. So how do they implement new capabilities is a very, very important functionality. So it's a combination of media, bringing media trends, business model, changing the business model. How do I attract customers with a different business model? And then leveraging the new technologies that are coming out in the market. So for example, can I understand the customer experience at the macro level? And can I use AI technology to leverage and provide more targeted campaign to the customer and give them the product they want as part of the bundle? So it's a very sophisticated level of personalization.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's going to be those that are able to master that, right? How do we automate processes that are going to make it easier for them to do business? How are we going to be able to leverage technology that will hyper personalize offers to their customers? I think that is absolute key to the near and long-term future. So thank you very much for that. So that brings us to the end of our session. I could go on and on. I think this is a topic that probably deserves an hour, but I'm very, very pleased to be speaking with you gentlemen today, and hope that we have some sessions together in the future. But thank you very much for joining us, Ashok, Kalal. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.